All right. Hey guys, thanks for coming. So this is going to be live stream number 4, I believe. I apologize to those that came to the last live stream and I was sick and didn't make it. So um, excited to cover a bunch of topics today. We have quite a few viewers this time around, so I'm pretty excited about that. Um, I'm gonna first let's talk about a little bit about what happened last stream and the importance of checking out the old ones. First off, while we were waiting, that was Magical Coffee's Twitch channel. I've been hanging out with him and his Twitch channel, and he does basically a live stream of price movements within the altcoin space. So if you're a trader, it's a really cool space to hang out. A lot of information being fed through that stream, and I'll send you a link and include links to everything in the show notes page in our Discord after the stream. Which of course you'll only get if you're a client. It's a private group, but for those clients that are watching, that's the place to go. Last live stream, we chatted about panels, how to read them, all the different pools we're mining on: Zpool, NiceHash, Mining Pool Hub, the awesome miner link, stats panel, all that good stuff is how to read all that, where are your miners mining, etc., etc. So if you have some questions on where your miners are mining, that's the place to go. Is live stream number 3. I also touch on it a little bit in live stream number 1, but I do a lot better job in live stream number 3 of talking about it. So right, so I want to start the live streams now talking about what are our miners predominantly mining. This isn't ASIC mining, this is GPU mining. We jump around, we mine all kind of different things. There's lots of different things that are occurring that affect your profitability other than what's happening with one coin. So I just want to kind of go over a little bit what we're mining. So I'm going to touch on that real quick. CoinMarketCap is the website that I live in. That's where a lot of your information is going to be on different coins, prices. It gives you links to all the websites. It's just a place, the launching pad for your research. One of the big ones that we're mining right now is obviously Ethereum. It's going to be number 2 on the list here. Where you can see the price movements are pretty static. And I'm actually going to talk about some technical analysis a little bit later, which I try not to do, but I'm going to do it this time. So Ethereum obviously is a big one. We're mining a lot of X16R you're seeing on your panel, which if you click on the link to NiceHash or Zpool, whichever one, that's Raven coin for the most part. You're seeing a price bump here. So a lot of our miners are getting good returns on Raven coin, which is pretty much a Force/NVIDIA exclusive. I think it is also on AMD, but the AMDs just aren't as good as the NVIDIA miners right now. But that's one of the big ones that we're mining right now. Another coin that we are mining a lot of is Zcoin, which just switched algorithms to kick ASICs off. And I haven't talked about this one. This one kind of slipped under the radar for me. But we've got Zcoin, who switched to MTP, which, again, a lot of the NVIDIA miners are good at mining. So a lot of the miners are on that. I think the Force 1.0s are mining that for the most part, getting better returns. You see a little bump here. So we're seeing good returns on that. And what else we got? We got Kryptonite VR, which is XMR. Monero just forked off ASICs, so you'll see this on the profit switcher a lot, including AMDs. AMDs are historically better at mining Kryptonite than NVIDIA's. So actually, you're seeing a little bump on the AMD side with XMR. We're also seeing Bitcoin Gold, which is the Equihash 144.5 algorithm. So this is something that we're touching on. Remember, we're not actually holding these coins. We're selling them as we mine them. So if you haven't heard of them and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to be exposed to that, you're not really, we're mining it, we're selling it, getting rid of it. And when the price goes up, we're selling it at a higher price. So you're collecting the Bitcoin or the Ethereums or whatever your elected payout token is. But I'm just giving you an idea of when you look at your panel, you see these things. These are usually the coins that are associated with that algorithm. You can find out yourself, but I just wanted to take the time to go through some of the different things that we're mining. Just give you an idea of what we're doing here to try to maximize the profits on your hardware. Another one that we're mining is Grin, which was added to the profit switcher, I believe, sometime in February. And this is the Cuckoo cycle, the Mimblewimble that we've talked about, another ASIC resistant coin, totally different way of doing blockchains. They're a very, very small download. And they actually just released their Windows graphic interface wallet today, so you guys can download that. Um, Grin is something I'm keeping my eye on. It's really interesting. It's really good for GPU miners, and something that we've been touching on with our hardware over the past month as well. And the last big one is Beam, another Mimblewimble implementation, Equihash 155 or 150 comma 5, just to delineate the zero there. This is another one that we've been mining that's good for GPU miners. It's the block reward's pretty high right now. That should drop, I want to say, at the end of the year or so. So these are the big ones that we're mining right now. This is a change over the course of your mining contract, I'm sure. But I just wanted to touch on real quickly what these things are when you see these algorithms on the mining panel. So let's get into some stuff outside of what's mining, outside of BitCap, and why I'm getting more excited about some of the things that have been changing and some of the developments that have occurred over the past month and going into April. So the first one, I tend to show this chart pretty often. I actually got to move it a little bit because I'm in the way. Let's move me, actually. Let's move me over here. So this is the Ethereum difficulty growth chart. Right here is when we killed the difficulty bomb. So the difficulty bomb, every time it would ratchet up. This was artificially inflating the difficulty to try to, their goal was they would have proof of stake ready. Wasn't necessarily the case, so they delayed the difficulty bomb. And actually we're seeing, even after the delay, the mining difficulty keeps falling slightly. So that's actually good for GPU miners. A lot of the guys paying a lot for their power are turning their rigs off, which means since the inflation rate stays the same over this period, difficulty goes down, which means you're getting more ether per day, per hour, per week, whatever. So even after this bomb fell, the mining rewards, or not, sorry, the difficulty has continued to decrease, and we're seeing a little bit of the profit switcher, just like, cents per day, slowly getting more and more ether per day. So that's something that's been very good, particularly for the AMD miners. But this is also good for everybody, since if there's more money to be made here, it loosens up difficulty with everything in the space. So definitely a chart to keep an eye on. I do want to talk about technical analysis. Again, this is not my forte. This is not I'm not too experienced in timing trades. I would direct you to Magical Coffee's Twitch channel, where there's a lot of people talking about trading strategies there. But we're seeing a lot of different indicators, and I'm going to talk about one that particularly stuck out to me. That's saying that now is a good time to start to grow your position in cryptocurrencies. I think April is going to be the month where we break out, and this is indicated by a couple different things on charts that I'll get into here. So we can I'll send you all the links to everything that I'm talking about here, so you can dive in a little bit yourself. But the most important chart I think I have to show you is this one. So this is Science Guy, who is famous on Reddit for his technical analyses. He does. He posts pretty regularly. Well, actually hasn't posted in a few years, but before he was accurate. I want to say 90% of the time. That was the number that was floated to me by other Redditors. But you can kind of see here that we've got basically a support, and we've got the bear market since the end or the beginning of 2008. And we definitely bottomed out with Ethereum down at $80. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was a pretty scary month. But now we're consolidating. So we're moving. There's not so much movement happening. Volume is starting to fall as people are not sure which way we're going to break. Are we going to go up? Are we going to go down? But Science Guy is predicting the end of April as the time to where things are going to get really interesting in terms of price movement. So I think we're going to kind of float in, right in here in this triangle. Things are going to get less and less volatile as we kind of reach ahead here between the resistance and the support lines. And I think we're definitely out of the bear market. The bear market bottomed out at 85. We're sitting at 130 3750 Ethereum, $4,000 Bitcoins roughly, and that's been higher than what we've seen in the past months. So we got this short-term bull trend over this long-term bear trend, and they're going to start to they're going to collapse essentially, and a lot of the indicators are saying that we're going to start to go back up. So I'm watching price pretty closely, and we'll see if this turns out to be true. Obviously, good technical analysis won't give you actual dates. He actually is very confident that this will be the date. I'm just going to go ahead and say April, but I'll give you a link to this Reddit post as well. This was posted about a week ago. This is the first time that Science Guy has posted in quite some time. So definitely a good bullish symbol just for the market in general. And this is one of the rare times I will actually mention price because this particular retracement of like 90 to 95% a lot losing its value at 20 grand a Bitcoin it certainly caught a lot of people off guard, and a lot of people were damaged by the price swing down. So I wanted to touch on it and talk about it's not so bleak, especially anymore. So I'll send you a link to this, and you guys can check this out as well. Beyond that, what do we got here? Let's talk about some past forks that occurred. The big one being Constantinople. A lot of these are basically the EIPs, or the Ethereum improvement proposals that were implemented in Constantinople. From a miner's perspective, the only important one is the difficulty bomb delay and the block reward adjustment. So it went from 3 Ether per block to 2. However, the difficulty bomb was delayed, and we were already starting to feel the effects, so it was basically a net neutral. Mining profitability didn't really change too much from the fork. It got worse and worse and worse leading up to the fork, but it didn't change because of the fork. So mining is about flat. We're earning less Ether per block, but the blocks are moving quicker. The difficulty has gone down. So that's live. And that's been a big one for Ethereum. You can read about these different EIPs and what changes they've made. They've basically made smart contracts more efficient, and it also allowed for gas-based. The price per Descend Ether has gone down as well. Those are kind of the big notable ones, but you guys can dive into this a little bit more. There's a lot of content to be absorbed here. The last one, or the other fork that occurred that I hadn't talked about before, because I didn't actually expect it to impact the farm to the degree that it did, was Zcoin, which I believe was an Equihash coin that became an ASIC-driven coin, forked off their ASICs, and switched to an algorithm called MTP. And a lot of you guys are mining MTP right now. So this fork occurred. Wow, like late, it looks like December 10th of last year. So it took a little bit of time for that to get to us in terms of profitability, but something that I wasn't paying attention to. But this is why I do the profit switcher, is because I'd rather have a computer figure these things out and make sure that I'm prepared. Once the computer says, hey, we should be mining this, I can kind of configure the farm to capture these profits. And this is something that you guys can dive into, learn a little bit more about Zcoin. And all these coins that I mentioned on top of this is, if you guys want to mine direct, let's say you read about Zcoin and you really like its core mission, we can mine that coin directly for you, no problem. Profit switcher is a default setting, or profit boost rather. We can move you to whatever you want to mine. So this hard fork happened. You can read about this on their official blog. I will send a link in the Discord as well, including my show notes, where you guys can learn more about that. Next one that occurred, hard fork, is Monero. You can see in January, we started to see a major climb up of difficulty, ASICs. So Monero has an interesting solution where they just want to fork every 6 months, I believe it is. I don't really think that's too sustainable because they want to stay within Kryptonite. But you can see it happened here. Boom, kicked off ASICs. That was Kryptonite V8. I actually remember that happening and implementing that change. This time it's called Kryptonite VR. And it has been profitable. One of the top profitable coins over the past month, and it made Monero GPU friendly again. So we've seen a number of hard forks. The last two, we saw Vertcoin also before. So MTP, Vertcoin, Monero, all of these have forked off ASICs, which is great if you're setting up a resurgence in price, you have a lot of different coins spreading difficulty among these different coins for the GPU miners to take advantage of. The next one I hope will occur is programmatic proof of work, or ProgPow, which I've written about ad nauseum. You can read the Ethereum developers just had a meeting on March 15th. I will also send a link to this. They put the minutes on GitHub, and they talk about ProgPow for quite a bit here. And the general consensus is that they want to implement ProgPow, but they don't know really when. There's talk about doing their own hard fork before the next planned hard fork. This hard fork, I don't remember what it's called. It's not Istanbul. St. Petersburg, perhaps, or maybe it is Istanbul, and St. Petersburg was the rolling back of one of the EIPs of the last fork, Constantinople. I want to say it's Istanbul, or maybe that's the name that's being floated around. But that's being slated tentatively for October. We're going to start to see some further changes, the sharding and Casper, and they're talking about putting ProgPow into that hard fork. However, there is discussion, and you can read about it here, and I'll send this link, about adding this, ProgPow giving its own hard fork in April to kick off Ethereum ASICs. Now, Ethereum ASICs are not as dramatically better at mining like Monero, but there's about, there's probably, I don't know the numbers, 10 to 20 to 30% more efficient than GPUs. And we don't actually know how much of the network is driven by ASICs. And if programmatic proof of work does go through, we will see a drop in difficulty. I think pretty substantial, because not the efficiency gain isn't as great, but we don't know how many there are. I think a good chunk of the network, 40% or something like that, is going to be ASIC driven on Ethereum. So Ethereum being somewhat profitable to mine now, we're not going to see a 90% jump, but if we see a 40% jump, that's 40% more profitable for GPU miners. And I got into an argument with a gentleman on Reddit, where I'll also link, and it's also on the Reddit link from the minutes from the meeting, which is right here. His name is Crypto Anthony, and we actually go back and forth, and he gives some good counterpoints to why we should not implement programmatic proof of work. And I'll send the link to this, and you guys can see like my fully fleshed out arguments and his fully fleshed out arguments for why this is a good or a bad idea. Really interesting conversation. It's quite long, though, I will say. Yeah, we do go back and forth. I hope we ended on good terms. I don't think it was too malicious or anything like that. Oh, that's my cat. But that's another discussion you guys can have about why I'm super. That's not the right word. Why I'm super excited about ProgPow and why I think it's a good idea. And I think the main thrust of my argument here is that ASICs bring about political force or political presence on a blockchain that has to be considered. And I think that was really evidenced with the Bitcoin Cash split, is they couldn't basically activate SegWit without Bitmain's approval because they had enough hash rate to block SegWit, so they had to go around them and do a user-activated soft fork, which was really controversial and ended with chain splitting and caused a lot of damage even after SegWit was activated, because now we've got BSV and BCH and all these Bitcoin ABC and all these different Bitcoin forks that I think were just incredibly detrimental to the space and damaged the space in general over a contentious hard fork due to ASICs having a political presence on a blockchain. Now, I don't know, I'm not getting into who was right and who was wrong, but that presence led to a lot of controversy. And if you allow ASICs on a network, their influence and their portion of the hash rate to continue to grow, then they're going to be a political force to deal with during proposals on EIPs that they may not necessarily like. And I think it may hinder the switch to proof of stake, especially if you've got a whole block of companies who put in millions of dollars in R&D and ASICs that are now being told that they had always, proof of stake has been on the table with Ethereum for 2 years now. But now maybe they have the political power to block a proof of stake switch. They may lose at the end, but think of the battle that would occur. So that's certainly something that I'm keeping my eye on, and I don't think ASICs are generally a good idea in general, but for that reason, in this argument, I get into pretty deeply. So something to check out if you guys want to learn or just read about why I am a big fan of ProgPow and written about it to the degree that I have. Um, so lots of content here, a lot more content than the past live streams because I think there's a lot of things happening, and I want to go beyond just forks and GPU mining, but there's things happening outside the space that we're just the infrastructure for. It's not as sexy, it's not as cool, but the things that are getting users to join the blockchain world, the cryptocurrency world, they don't care what I'm doing, they don't care about the mining, they want to see actual use cases and value being generated, and so I want to get into that as well. Let's see. One more thing before I get into that. I want to link Andreas's YouTube channel. This guy has been instrumental in getting me excited about blockchain. He is the quintessential guide for learning about blockchains, and he's got more talks than anyone I've ever seen on this topic. I will link his YouTube channel in the Discord in my show notes as well. Back to some of the cool things that I think are happening in blockchain. The biggest one is Brave browser. I've been following these guys for a while. So this is Chrome. I just want everyone to see that I'm using Google Chrome here. This is Brave. Now, it was super easy to switch. Brave browser, it looks almost exactly like Chrome. It's really hard to even tell the difference between the two. Maybe just up at the top right corner. I have some more things in Chrome. The other cool thing is any extension you use on Chrome, you can use the Chrome extension store to install stuff on Brave. Super easy. Brave is better because it will block ads, it will block cookies, it will block tracking software, all inherently, immediately, no need any add-ons, anything like that. In addition, it has you can download MetaMask, which is basically a web browser Ethereum wallet. So you've got basically your interoperability with blockchains. You've got ad blocking built right in. It's really quick. It's gaining a lot of traction. And what their vision for the future of the internet is, right now we have you are the product essentially. They're tracking you. They're tracking ads. They're giving you ads based on your activity. A lot of people have, by nature of how the internet is set up, has sacrificed privacy for convenience. So Brave kind of sees things a little bit differently in cryptocurrency. But mainly, they're an ERC20 token on blockchain or on Ethereum. So they're an Ethereum token. They see privacy as an inherent, important human right. So what they'll do is, if you want to see an ad, you actually get paid some BAT, which is their token. You will get paid for reviewing that ad, and it changes the dynamic between advertisers and users and companies by paying the viewer of an ad directly instead of the service providing, let's say, Facebook with something for you and building ads into that service. So I think it's going to shift, or they're saying Web 2.0. That's going to shift the relationship between like the advertising, and it's something really cool. So you can go to Brave.com, download their browser. You go to MetaMask. This brings Ethereum to your browser, which allows you to interact with the Ethereum blockchain while you're browsing. You can buy things, etc., etc. Here's an example of the Chrome web store. Anything on here will work with Brave. I made the switch on my Mac, my phone, and my PC. It's super easy. And I want to give you guys a use case or an example of what to do, what you can do with this kind of tool. So as you guys know, March Madness is coming up. People are. I haven't filled out a bracket in years, I'll admit, but I'm pretty excited to fill one out this year. My roommate's really into it, and we'll probably watch a few games. But one of these things on top of Ethereum that's also being built is called DAI, and it's a stable coin. So it's pegged to the US dollar through a smart contract. So it's a decentralized stable coin, unlike Tether, which is like basically a bank. And I think stablecoins are really important to the space in general because there's a lot of fluctuations in price. I think that will fix itself over time, but just by nature of more and more people using it, things become more stable. But on the way up, we could use a stablecoin to keep prices without being volatile with the price of the crypto. But what DAI basically is, there's doing a Ethereum NCAA bracket challenge where if you download MetaMask and you fill out a bracket, you could submit it to them, and you could win 350 DAI, which is $350, and you could submit it directly to directly through them on their page here. So you can go to ethmadness.com, fill out your bracket, give yourself a name. As long as you have MetaMask, it's free to enter, but you're put in a pool based on how your bracket performs, and they'll pay you if you're the winner. So I'm filling one out right after the stream here. You can do a top seed, you can do random, or you can take the time, go on ESPN, get all the different tidbits of knowledge, fill out the best bracket possible, and possibly win $350. So this is one cool use case where they're using a smart contract to pay out a winner using DAI and Ethereum, all blockchain based on your browser, and you don't have to pay to participate. So I think this is like one example of where you can buy in to brackets. I mean, I'm sure there are. I just found this one. But I really wanted to see something, see Brave, and show how you can use Brave or MetaMask for something cool and useful. And this is just one example of all the different things that Brave brings to the table. So that's kind of all I had for the stream. We've got Brave browser. I want you guys to check out Andreas. There's been a lot of different changes in the past months that are setting us up for a bull run, both from a technical standpoint and from a fundamental standpoint. The kicking off of ASICs, the discussion. It seems like every software, every node implementation is preparing for pragmatic proof of work to go live on Ethereum. It's got universal community support. This really the matters of the developers of where they want to put it in. Do they want to wait till October? Do they want to make their own hard fork? It looks like it's going to happen more and more. One more shout out. There's a Twitch channel, Bits Be Trippin', and he talks about ProgPow quite a bit. He's got a farm, I believe, out in Wisconsin. Talks about different benchmarking, and I watch his channel a lot. You guys can check him out. But it looks like ProgPow is going to happen, and that's going to be a good thing for any GPU miner. I think everybody, because it opens up the ability for anybody to get into mining and not have to design or buy a special chip. You can take any computer and get it to work for the blockchain, keep it decentralized, stop political forces from accruing, centralization, all of these things that are, I think, bad that come along with ASIC-driven blockchains. So, whew! I talked about a lot of different stuff. It's about a half hour, which is what I'm shooting for. If you guys have any questions, drop it in the chat in Twitch, drop it in the chat in Discord, or just shoot me an email if you want to learn about something off stream. Submit your brackets. I'm gonna put the show notes page in the Discord. I'm super pumped, man. This has been this month and April are going to be, I think, the beginning of a lot of cool developments, a lot of usable cryptocurrency use cases, user-friendly cryptocurrency use cases, because I think that's been the problem so far. Not a lot of normal people are, I'm going to quote Joe Lubin here, not a lot of normal people are using cryptocurrency right now, but there were not a lot of normal people firing off emails in 1983. And I think that hit the nail on the head. This is still a space that needs further development, needs to be integrated better into our payment systems, into our monetary system, into our software, into our internet. And I think Brave is like one of the coolest big steps forward. So I invite you guys to check out Brave, check out Andreas, check out Bits Be Trippin', check out Magical Coffee. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different tools to immerse yourself in blockchain tech. So if I have no questions, I'll sign off. But please drop me a message in the Discord, shoot me a message in Twitch, email. Go check out the website. All these things are great. Thanks for checking out the stream, guys, and I'll be looking forward to the next one. Thanks.